everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Cloud-Based Mayhem. I am recording this opener yet again in the Bogota airport. Had a great week of racing in the British Open. Those guys, Air Nomads and Luke Joe and his team, put on an awesome comp, proper World Cup speed. Lots and lots of really good pilots. It was super fun. This talk is with Mark Watts, legend. I met him back in 2012 when he came to Sun Valley for the World Cup and won it. And we've told other stories about that race. Guy Anderson disappeared, who was also, I think he got second or third in this comp. He disappeared for a couple days, put the scare in all of us, and but he came out of that one okay. If you haven't listened to that show, go back and check it out. Awesome stories. But we've had a lot of requests for Mark Watts. He's been racing for more than 25 years. Legend. He tells some great stories. We had a really fun talk. As with the previous show, it was a live show. It was down there in Columbia in my backyard. There was lots and lots of sound. Miles has worked his magic, as he always does. And but especially later in the talk, as the sun started going down, we had some very interesting birds coming out. So, but Miles has done his best with that. Still definitely worth listening to. I don't think it'll be too bad. But before we get into the talk with Mark, we talk about competitions and risk and all kinds of stuff. You're just gonna dig it. Lots of good stories. But before we get into that one, two things of housekeeping. One is I wanted to put a shout out to Coney and the XC Tracer. I've seen a lot more of these, especially with the comp pilots. It's the tiniest little unit. You've probably seen the ad in Cross Country Magazine. They aren't a sponsor of the show. I just wanted to put out a shout for them, for Coney, because they're just amazing little Varios. Solar powered, you pretty much never need to charge them. The new Mini, which I don't even have yet, it's barely bigger than a quarter and weighs about the same. It's just almost nothing. So I'm pretty excited to use that in the X-Alp. So if you're looking for lightweight gear and just a terrific audio Vario that connects Bluetooth to your phone or other instruments, but it's what most of the comp pilots I'm seeing are using now. Terrific little unit. It uses accelerometers, so it's instant up and down, and you can do all kinds of customization, which I've done to make it kind of match your typical Flytech or Flymaster. So get the dampening and the averaging and find it really good for finding cores and climbing. So the second bit of housekeeping, this isn't actually the most exciting story, but I threw my reserve the first day in Colombia. So I've been down in Valle for a couple weeks, and Valle is typically pretty rowdy. It wasn't overly rowdy this time, but we did have some very blue, high-pressure days the first few days in Valle that were kind of bitey. And I've always thought a Roll de Neo is really soft and mellow, and people always talk about the cloud flying. I hadn't been down here in a few years. It's been a few years, but the first day I got there, and actually the first few days I was there, it was super blue. I guess it's been really dry. El Nino's been very kind to Roll de Neo. And it was actually really rowdy. So the first day I got in the air, I think I was quite kind of passive about the whole thing, and I was just taking pictures and cruising around and getting some hours. And it was about 20K out from launch, up above the kind of ridge. Those of you that have flown there, you kind of know there's like in the mountains there's a shelf up on top that's not too steep and lots of grass and stuff. And I was just leaving a climb, and I wasn't super high. It was a pretty low day at that point, but I was just leaving a climb and had a big blowout, and didn't really think too much of it, but got a really bad cravat on the left side, like pretty huge and very sticky. And I should have stalled it right away, but I thought I could fish it out, and I could barely fly the wing with a lot of lean and quite a bit of brake, but really to go straight, I was using so much brake that it almost stalled the right side. So I kind of did the best I could to fly it straight, and did the whole fish with the mouth thing. And there's the lines were so slack, and if I reached over with my other hand, it would start to wind up. So I was trying to kind of like do it, like grab a whole bunch of line, put it in my mouth, grab a whole bunch more line, and I was almost successful doing that, but I couldn't quite get it. So then I tried an ESP, which I'd never done, but I'd heard about it from Matt Beechner. He did it in the Sierras. It's in his talk, I think the second or third episode. And so that's where you spin the non-flying side. So I grabbed all that stuff and just yanked, because of course the brake wasn't doing anything. But I didn't do it really aggressively. I probably needed to do it a little bit harder, but at that point I was a little bit worried about my height over the ground. And then I took a quick second to reassess and thought, man, maybe if I can fly straight, maybe I can fly down off the edge of this thing and get through the trees. I briefly thought about trying to land it up on top, because there was some grass, but there was a bunch of power lines, and I didn't really think that I had enough control over the wing to put it in. I definitely had no right turn whatsoever, and it was really quite unstable, and I was almost in parachutable. My Vario's sync alarm was going off the whole time. I was sinking pretty fast. I didn't look at how fast, but that 1,000 feet I had when it first started disappeared really quickly. So anyway, started flying straight towards the valley, and I was kind of thinking I could maybe get over the trees, but there was no chance. And very luckily, there was a little tiny field, little farmer's field that was incredibly steep, just a little grass field in this kind of sea of jungle. So yeah, there was just a little bit of wind. It wasn't really wind, it was just anabatic flow coming up from the valley. And so I just got windward of that and decided to throw my Regalo, which is on the right side. I fly with 2 reserves in my race kit, and thinking that I could get that out real quick and hopefully steer it into this little field and, call it a day. But as soon as I threw it, opened super fast. As soon as I threw the flying part of my wing downplaned really fast, and it seemed like I was going down pretty quick. I only threw with about 400 feet at vert. That's all I had once I got to kind of windward of the field. And so by the time I disabled my wing, and a reminder to wear gloves. I didn't have any gloves on, and disabling a wing without any gloves leaves some nice, you lose some skin for sure. But disabled the wing, and as soon as I got that in, I was pretty much down. I didn't have any time to even get to the toggles. I took a quick look for them and couldn't even see them. I was kind of twisted up at that point. So landed very softly and just off the edge of the field. Actually almost hit a horse going in, which was pretty funny. And then just stepped out of my gear, went and looked for the bag. I couldn't find the bag, but when I went and did that, I realized that it was really, really steep terrain, and walking out of there would have been pretty tough. And then I kind of reassessed and looked at the field and thought, holy cow, I can just fly out of here. It was a little bit shallow, and there was a lot of trees, but it was, going to be boaty for sure, and nothing like a typical X-Alps launch, so no big deal. So I just packed up the reserve in the bag and reset my gear and launched and flew home. It was only about 20K back to Rosenio, so I landed back at my house, and the next day, I guess, according to X Contest, I'm not too sure I believe this, but they said that I broke the FAI triangle record there, so that was pretty neat. It held for 24 hours. Another guy beat it the next day by like 0.8K or something, which is pretty cool. But yeah, anyway, the flying was fantastic, and then we got into the British Open, and that was terrific. But a lot of people have asked me to tell the story about the reserve toss, and that was it. It was certainly very, very tame. You kind of think you're never going to have a reserve toss after all these years, but I mean, I've done a few in acro, but I've never done it in that kind of situation. So, certainly there was some adrenaline pumping, but testament to reserves, and a good idea to have 2. That was awfully nice, as that allowed me to fly home, which was pretty nice, better than a very, very hot walk through the jungle. So that's it for housekeeping. Let's get into this show with Mark Watts. God, he races fast. He's so fun to fly with, and he tells some pretty good stories. I think you're going to dig this. So enjoy this talk with Mark Watts. Mark, thanks so much for coming on the Mayhem mid-comp. I know that's always kind of tricky to fit in the time and stuff, but you are a legend in the sport, and so I appreciate you coming on the show, and I've had a lot of requests for you. I thought where we'd start is kind of what we were talking about the other day with your dad. I understand your dad's kind of a pioneer. He got started. We just did this hang gliding show pretty recently, and he sounds like he got started from the same National Geographic article that came out in the early 70s. Maybe start with him and how he maybe eventually led you to flight.
So my dad went to the dentist and picked up this National Geographic magazine, and there was an article in there about people flying the Regalo. It was apparently an offshoot of NASA research for bringing in the pods from outer space, and men were flying these Regalos. So he wrote off to the States for instructions on how to build one, and the instructions came back. So it was 1,000 gauge black sort of building polythene, aluminium scaffold tubes, 90 degrees nose angle with whatever you needed to wrap the material around the leading edge, and he ironed it together, shiny magazine, and ironed the two bits of plastic together, and that's how he stuck it. No top rigging, no battens. I think he said the instructions were push to go up and pull to come down. So I think he said
there you got it. You're ready to go.
Yeah, his first flight, I think it was from, I'm not sure if his first one was from Plumpton, but he used to fly from a ridge called Plumpton, or the Ditchling Ridge, and he sort of got near the bottom and thought, I want to be at the top, and pushed the bar out and came down from higher than he thought, and he said the soles of his feet were black for about a week. Yeah, so that was, he learned not to push out too much. And I think he said his first soaring flight was in a force 7 gale, and the upshot of it
Force 7.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, he kept going out and he couldn't stay up, so he just kept on going out in stronger wind. And eventually, one guy that was took the nose wires, or it was ropes at the time, so a nylon shock cord. They sort of moved towards the front of the hill, and Dad's lifted off the ground. This guy's lifted off the ground, and so thought, bugger you, and let go. And Dad sort of went up backwards and landed, and that was it. Soaring top landing.
Nice. Got it dialed.
Yeah. But he also experienced the luffing dive. So quite soon after hang gliders were made, they worked out they needed battens and top rigging to stop the sail going the wrong way up, and they would dive into the ground and not do the pilots any good. But Dad broke his ankle in a luffing dive on what he called the black polythene bat, and after that, I think the next hang glider was homemade. I think that probably had top rigging, but that was sailcloth and a bit more advanced. Yeah, and on he went from there. He used to bribe the local farmers with punnets of mushrooms. He used to work on a mushroom farm. Yeah. He used to bribe them with punnets of mushrooms to allow them to fly his hills. Really? Fly the hills, yeah.
So this is kind of early 70s?
Yes, I'll be 3 years old, so probably 72, 70, 73, 74.
And was it his kind of passion for flight? Did that carry on then, I guess? He kept flying? He's still flying?
Yeah.
He's still flying?
Yep.
Yeah,
yep. Still flying now, yeah. So he's just turned 70 now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
And any other close calls?
Oh, there's always close calls, aren't there?
Yeah.
Been flying for that long.
Sure.
Got to be some close calls. He had quite a nasty accident with a thing called a Quicksilver, which was a sort of a wing with a tailplane. That was at Firle. That sort of got into a dive and hit the hill at Firle. I believe later on they lift the tailplane up by about 8 inches to stop it going into a dive, and make it pull the nose up. But no, he broke his thigh and I think some shoulder blade and mashed up a load of internals. He was in hospital for a long time.
Ooh.
Well, I don't know if it was 4 months or more, but it was quite a long time.
And about when was that?
Oh, I don't know. I was doing about 8, I suppose, maybe 10.
Okay, a few years after he learned.
Yeah.
And then you had kind of a scary incident in one of his trikes or something.
Yeah.
Was it the Quicksilver or was it something else?
No. This was a thing made by a company called Aerial Arts, I believe. It's a 330 twin Fuji Robin engine with a trike, a hang glider. It was a Magic 4 177, Magic 4 hang glider on a trike. And I suppose I'd have been about 13 years of age. And we were down in the field at the back of the farm where we lived. And Dad said, do you want to have a go with the trike? It's like, yeah, sounds good. So he said, go down the field. Before you do a turn at the bottom, get the power on early because the field's a bit small. Come back round and come up the field. He said, when you get to roughly where I am, push the bar out, pull it back in again, get to about 10 feet, let off the gas, and just do a little hop in the field. So fair enough, sounds reasonable. So first attempt, didn't really have enough speed to get unstuck. So he said, try the gas a bit earlier in the bend. So second attempt, again, no success. Third attempt, yep, gone down the field, come trundling up the field, and pushed the bar out. Pop, must have gone up to about sort of 20 feet. And I then remember sort of looking at the end of the field, and there's a row of trees at the end of the field. And I thought, if I let off the gas now, I'm not going to stop before the trees. Apparently, with hindsight, I would have done. But so I've gone trundling along gone along the field at sort of 20 feet. And my dad's sort of watching, thinking, what's he doing? And so I've gone along the edge of the field, got to where the trees are, popped the bar out, boom, up and over the trees. I thought, yep, not a problem. Dad does a big 360, comes right there, big circuit, comes back at the bottom end of the field, comes in and lands. No, yeah, that's what I'll do. So, not a problem. I've put a left turn in, and I'm on full throttle all the time though. And it's probably, I don't know, climbing at 700-800 feet a minute. Maybe not quite that quick, but anyway, by the time I come back round into the bottom end of the field, I can see my dad jumping up and down in the field, and he's about the size of an ant. Yeah.
So you were tall.
Yeah,
you were way too high.
I was a bit hot, yeah. And he'd put this strange thing on that you could get the trike to point in a different position to the hang glider, which makes things a bit odd because the hang glider's weight shift. You think you're going where your feet are, but you're not. You're actually going where the base bar is pointed, if you see what I mean.
So he did that to deal with like unfavorable launching conditions or something, right?
Yeah,
like
for fields
crosswinds or something.
Yeah, fields are a bit small with a crosswind, so you'd start off with the hang glider pointing into wind, and as it went up the runway, it would then weathercock into wind because it's delta shaped and take off. But when you were flying, it made things a bit strange. You had to sort of know about it. So a problem I had with it was when I'd come back round to where I wanted to be going, I'd look at my feet, and when my feet were going roughly where I wanted to be going, I'd put in a turn to try and straighten up. And I'm obviously still in the turn. The base bar is still pointing left, so to speak, whereas my feet are pointing right. And the hang glider goes, where the base bar is pointing. So it kept on going round and round in circles. It wouldn't stop turning. Yeah. So
And is Dad getting farther and farther away, or did you figure it out where you're getting lower and lower now?
I mean, there was. It's a long time ago now, so it's difficult to remember the finer details. But I do remember being sort of halfway along the field and nose down with the hang glider or the trike pointing nose down, thinking not going to get in here. It's just too small. It's not going to work. So I thought, I need to have a bit of speed on before I go pushing the bar out, or else it could stall. I knew about reflex, washout, weight shift, airspeed, various bits and bobs. So I give it some gas, and the farm buildings came up rather quick. But anyway, I missed those and pushed the bar out, and off I went. And I remember there was a sort of conifer forest, a conifer wood round the back of the field. And I do remember feeling a twang as the wispy bits hit the bottom of the trike once or twice. And so that was a while. I was up there for a while, and I think that evening somebody phoned my dad up and complained at him because he'd been buzzing their house for 20 minutes.
It's going round and round and round.
Yeah, it was me. So he apologised humbly and said it wouldn't happen again. But so after about, I don't know how long it was. It might have been 20 minutes. It might have been longer. I don't know. But I was starting to think it could run out of fuel. And also it started to feel like I was up there for quite a long time. May not have been, but it felt like it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking I'm going to need to sort of get down reasonably soon. And so I thought, right, there's another field over there. So I thought I'd try and get it in there. So I'm coming down, and all of a sudden it's sort of gone whoosh, and I'm not quite sure what happened, but I've ended up landing 180 degrees the other way that I had intended in a field next to the one that I'd intended to get in. But on the way in, it sort of the trike had come in.
Well, you got 1 out of 3 things right. At least you landed.
Yeah, I'd sort of come into the field slightly crosswind with the trike, and it sort of broke one of the plastic wheels, and that was about it really. So there I am, 13, 14-year-old kid stood in a field with a microlight, and the farmer's house was just over the road, so he's come across, and sort of there I am stood in the field, and my dad's come running over, and my brother's come running up behind my dad from a sort of mile or two away, and dad sort of smoothed it over with the farmer.
And carried on lessons.
Well, he said to me, he said, what were you thinking? I said, well, I was concerned about hitting the trees at the end of the field. He said, well, you wouldn't have done. Anyway, we had a bit of a chat about it, and he said, I don't think we should tell your mother about this, do you? So, no, we didn't tell my mum.
Well, we'll have to make sure she doesn't listen to the podcast.
Yeah. He also mentioned to me that he was sort of thinking about the newspaper headlines, irresponsible father kills son in microlight incident.
They always say in backcountry skiing, before you drop in, always think about what the accident report's going to read, Dumbass takes a stupid line.
So, yeah, that was an interesting moment.
But that wasn't really your intro to flying. It sounds like you because you said you understood wash and balance and leaning, and had you been flying other stuff?
No, we used to play with paper airplanes.
Oh, okay.
We used to make these. We used to make them out of polystyrene, meat trays, file them down, sand them down, and cover them with paper, and put reflex and wash out on them, and various bits and bobs. So I sort of understood a bit about it.
Did you get into the RC thing too?
RC?
The remote control planes?
No, we didn't do any of that. But no, these were nice things. They'd go quite a long distance. They weren't your normal sort of paper aeroplane. They'd go quite a long way. So we used to play with those. So I knew a bit about that stuff. But it kind of put me off flying, really.
That incident.
I'd had a tandem flight with my dad off of Plumpton on I don't know if it's highway, it's a thing called a Super Scorpion. I don't know who made it, but we did a top to bottom off of Plumpton on that one day. And I'd also went on Ian Grayland made a hang glider called a Sigma. And I had a tandem flight on that in Ireland, or a place called Mount Leinster. So I'd been up a couple of times on the hang glider with my father. I can't remember if that was before or after the microlight thing. Can't remember. But I didn't really fancy hang gliding after that. It sort of put me off a bit. So I didn't really start flying until about 21, I think I was. Staying with a friend who's taught paragliding for the Green Dragons. And he taught me flying. So
what's the Green Dragons?
There's a paragliding school.
Okay.
They were based in Essex. I think they're, somewhere around Caterham now, somewhere near there, Woldingham. But yeah, they taught on the South Downs, and I was staying with him. We did a morning's ground handling with an ET, I think it was called. Cells the size of footballs, about 9 cell.
Yeah, right.
Did a morning's ground handling with that. Did a top to bottom off the hill at Beachy Head in about 15 mile an hour wind. I was on a largish glider, weighed about 11 stone. It took 15 minutes to do a top to bottom. That was pretty good. And then got on some Harley, it was called, some sort of Harley intermediate paraglider, and then started doing some soaring at Bo Peep. And that was that. Off I went.
Huh. So those years between 13 and 23, was your dad still right into flying and just wasn't really interesting to you?
Well, how shall I put it? I had a bit of a disagreement with my stepmother, and had to sort of not live with my father anymore after that. So I went to live with my mother. So it was quite a long period of time where I just saw my dad on the odd occasion. And I think he'd got into microlighting. He got into microlighting. So he wasn't really flying the hills much. He was just sort of doing his microlighting when he wanted to.
Oh, so the birth of your paragliding really wasn't involved with him. It was more because you were with this friend.
Yes. I mean, it's sort of, I was with this friend, learned to soar. My father had just had an accident with a microlight. And I think I'd just split up with my girlfriend, and he'd just split up with the ex-wife or my stepmother that I hadn't got on with. We were living in trailers. We were living in a trailer. You're trash. And I kept asking him about soaring and thermaling and all this sort of stuff, and he was giving me the answers as best he could. And it kind of got him back into it. Yeah, so he used to go flying his magic, and I would be flying my paraglider.
Cool.
Yeah.
And has he gotten into paragliding?
Yeah. He I don't know if it was him or me suggested about it, but yeah, he got into paragliding. I taught him a bit of stuff. I mean, typical hang glider pilot coming across the paragliders, they just don't like it much.
Yeah.
You know, they haven't got anything really that physical to hold on to, and with the hang glider, they don't want to turn, they want to shove.
Yeah.
Whereas with the paraglider, it's a bit delayed response. But we got sort of over that and taught him some paragliding. We went to Scotland on one occasion. We were there for a wedding, I think, and we went up this huge mountain, Ben Ledi or something. We sort of walked up there, and my father wasn't very good at launching, so I tell you what, Dad, what we'll do is we'll lay the paraglider out on the ground. So we laid the glider out on the ground, laid him on the ground, so he's like, it's just like he's laid flat on his back with the glider behind him. And I said, when you're ready, let me know, give me the nod. And I think I held the brake lines, let go of the brake lines, grabbed the front risers and pulled them. It was quite a nice bit of wind.
Yeah.
And I pulled the front risers, and up comes the glider, lifts him up, and off he goes.
That's a unique way to get somebody in the air.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice bit of slope.
Yeah.
If he'd have been reverse launching off of a slope in 12, 14 mile an hour wind, it would have been off the slope, twist, messy, and all the rest of it.
Right.
So I thought, well, that's the way we'll deal with it, and off he went.
That's great.
Yeah, his first paraglider was a Voodoo. Airwave Voodoo 1, which was a really sweet piece of kit. I mean, it's a shame it had the porosity problems, but for its time, it was very nice handling, well-behaved paraglider that competed with the best of the other, or seemed to compete with the best of the other comp gliders around. So I said to him, if you get a taboo or something intermediate, you're just going to outgrow it because of your experience with hang gliding. So we need to get something that was reasonable performance. So we got him an Airwave Voodoo, and off he went. He was supposed to take it easy and start, flying things a bit slowly, but
Doesn't sound like that's his style.
No, someone said to me, I had to grab your dad's feet and pull him down the other day at Caburn. It's like, Dad, you're not supposed to be doing that. Yeah.
Sounds like quite a character.
Yeah, he's definitely quite a character. Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so you get into it in kind of the early 20s. How did you take me through your first few years and getting into comps and just like the resume version? How did it all kind of progress?
Well, I learned sort of through the Green Dragons. I then did some teaching for them. I think Harley Free Spirit was the first thing I really flew, which was I think it was a copy of a Falloc Athlete, pretty sort of basic. They had, I think they had the cascades, a double one. The leading edge lines would go up and cascade to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So you only had your A's and your B's, I think, but they wouldn't do things like big ears, if I remember rightly. But yeah, flew around on a Free Spirit for a while, and then I bought Andy's Green Ninja from him. That was my first paraglider, Firebird Ninja, with the wire risers and the weight shift and all the rest of it, which sort of gone by the by now. But yeah, just out flying all the time. Never had a vario or an altimeter to start with. Got a sort of little, I think it was a skydiver's altitude dial thing. Yeah. That was the first instrument I had. And I think in the first 3 years, the best height gain was about 1,100 feet. I can't remember if that was above sea level or above the hill. I can't quite remember. But used to just fly around being a bloody hooligan, tearing up the place, probably irritating people. But yeah.
And were you just kind of hooked from the beginning, from those first couple lessons? You were really into it?
Yeah. So yeah, I had the Ninja was the first glider. It was all right. It's probably as dangerous as many of the others, but yeah. I can't remember what glider I got from there. Oh, that's right. I remember Richard Carter doing some sort of an interview, and saying something about size is important. I think he was actually referring to other things, but anyway. So I then went and got an Adele ZX Racer, which was I think it was 32 square meters, and I weighed about 11 stone at the time, so it went up nicely.
Good climbing wing.
Yes, it did. It went up really well. And as soon as I got that, things changed. It was just like XC all the time. Not particularly far, but yeah, up and flying all the time, going XC. And yeah, it was just beautiful. You know, low wing loading, tiny circles, going up on anything. It was good. Then I had one of Richard Carter's full race katanas, big old purple thing, 32 square meters of it. It had 9 A lines on each side. You had A's, B's, C's, and D's.
Oh my God.
And just one side, so it's 18 A lines. The B lines,
weighed 18 kilos or something.
Yeah, I mean it was. Yeah, used to whistle. The lines go shh when you were flying about on it. But yeah, I had one of those. Used to fly around a lot with a chap called Gandhi, David Nunes. Yeah, he still is flying, very good at thermaling. Whenever we went XC, I'd never let him get quite far enough away that I couldn't get there if I needed to.
Keep him in your sights.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, in the early days, it was actually Mike Millward as well. Millie was around at the very beginning of me going XC. Then,
and this is all in the UK, or are you traveling too?
Probably travelling a bit, but mostly in the UK. Yeah, mostly in the UK. But so yeah, after Mike Millward, was Gandhi and I always flying about. He was always, we were always testing each other, seeing who could win the local club league. That was good fun.
And this is all kind of self-taught time, correct? I mean, when I talk to guys that started at that time, like Nate tells a story where he goes into a ski shop and somebody says, this guy's like, hey, does anybody want to go paragliding? I can take you paragliding. Yeah, I'll take. And he takes him down to the hill and shows him like 3 things and hucks him off, and he flies down and lands, and he goes, well, there you go. You know everything I know, It's kind of it.
Yeah, it wasn't quite that bad, but it was pretty early on. Yeah, I mean, I think we probably got some information out of Mike Millward, but he's a man of very few words.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah. Did the first 100 Ks on a UP. Oh, what was that one? A UP Katana? No, not the Katana. The next one after that. Can't remember what it's called now. Kendo C.
Okay.
So yeah, had a Kendo C. I was sponsored by Sky Systems for a while with a ITV Attics. So yeah, that was good. That got me started, which was great because I never had any money. Yeah, it was all going flying and just a bit of work to subsist, really.
And who was your crew back then? Who were the guys you were flying with?
Well, yeah, just sort of Gandhi or David Nunes, myself. That was about it, really. There's all sorts of people come and go, but...
So is this kind of before Pendry and Bruce?
They were a totally different league,
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I met Robbie a couple of times at some British Championships, Bruce and John Pendry. Yeah, I mean, Pendry, I remember... I mean, I never really had much to talk to him about, but I do remember we were on Merthyr Tydfil, and sort of British champs, and we climbed up a bit, and I knew it was Pendry, and he's glided off to a quarry just north of Merthyr. I think it's not there anymore, but a big black quarry, and we're gliding, and I'm thinking, I hope he knows what he's doing, because we're getting really, really low, and it's like we're getting really low, and he glides into this quarry, and he had some airwave rave race thing that was mega aspect ratio. It's just a blade.
Yeah.
And we go into this quarry, and he starts to pitch up, and he pulls the brake, and the thing goes whack in half. It looks like a hang glider, not a paraglider. It's just bent 90 degrees in the middle and wobbled around and went ping. And I thought, I'll have some of that, thank you. And in I went.
Perfect.
Yeah, but no, I wasn't really in that league. They sort of came and went. I mean, Bruce has been around for a while, but they came and went before I sort of got into it. And Russell came along. He started teaching for the local school, Fly Sussex, who sponsor me. Sorry about that plug, Gav. You can't cut that one out.
That's all right. We'll leave it.
Yeah, they're sponsoring me at the moment. But various people have sponsored me, which has all been brilliant down the road. Gradient did with Brad Nicholas. It's been good all the time. Gin a couple of times, UK Air Sports, so that's all been good stuff.
So when did you kind of get hot and heavy in the comp scene?
You used to have to qualify to get in the British Championships. You couldn't just I want to be in the British Open. You used to have to qualify through the UK XC League.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 year I've qualified in the XC League and then got into the British Championships. That would have been 94.
Okay.
I think 93 or 94. 95 was flying the Kendo C. 96, 97 was the Nova Expert. Dean Crosby and Nova sponsored me for a few years. That was great. Not the Expert, the Xenon. Xenon, what a piece of kit that was when it came out. I mean, dangerous, I suppose. I mean, paragliding is dangerous. But it was like, we need one of those. The leap in performance was ridiculous. If you had a Xenon, you were God.
Yeah.
Nobody else could get anywhere near you. Yeah. So, 94, I suppose, first British Championships.
So, 25 years of comp flying.
Yeah, I haven't been doing so much the last few years, but yeah, lots of it. Yeah.
And is there a reason you're not doing as much the last few years?
You can't keep doing it for 25 years and be hungry, can you?
Is it just lack of passion for it?
Yeah, the passion's worn off a bit.
Yeah.
I've got other things I want to do as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been all consuming. I mean, there's Mark and Peter and Annie as well. I mean, they've all, how should I put it, suffered at my selfishness and what am I looking for? But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
My
all-consuming.
Yes. Yeah.
Addiction.
Yes. Affliction.
Affliction. Yes. Addiction. Affliction.
Yeah.
Probably both the same.
Yeah. But no, the two boys are not interested in flying at all.
None at all.
No, I mean, in some ways I don't mind.
Yeah,
it's quite nice because I haven't got to worry about them.
Right.
But no, they don't really like the word paragliding much. It took me away too much. It's my fault. Hands up for that one. Sorry, boys.
Yeah, right. Sure, of course. Yeah. Well, we all suffer a bit with that for sure. In all those years, scary incident or two, imagine.
Yeah,
any good stories?
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably go through quite a few of them, but well, there's one in Chelan. Yeah,
I was going to ask you about that. Perfect.
Yeah.
Go for it. You're legend in the U.S. for that one.
Okay. Well, Chelan is you take off Chelan Butte, you fly across the Columbia River, which is a massive, great gorge. I don't know how deep it is, but it's must be a couple of 1,000 feet deep, I suppose.
It's impressive.
And then sometimes you can fly or sometimes you have to fly the gorge before you can get over into the flatlands. Ideally, you want to go straight into the flats. But I remember on this one occasion, I was soaring the gorge face, and I got a little weak climb. It was, I don't know, a metre a second or something, and so I started circling to the left. Left is best. You've always, forget this right business. Left goes up better.
Agreed, 100%. Yes, absolutely. I'm a lefty.
Anyway, so I started circling to the left, and one circle, two circles, not particularly rough or anything, and then all of a sudden, wallop, 75% of the inside of the wing collapse. It's like, whoa. And then the next thing I know, it's gone into, I think the French call it auto rotation. So it's basically
like a sat kind of. Yeah.
So it's basically a satting around the collapsed 2/3.
Yeah.
And so it's going to the left, and
it's wanging hard.
Yeah, so I've got my hand on the right brake, and I've actually pulled the right brake, and it's slowing the sat down, or the auto rotation sat feeling. I mean, I'm going backwards, it's going forwards. It's like I've done some sats, and that's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah,
not high, but anyway, so it's gone around a couple of times. I've slowed it down. I thought, right, reserve. So I put my right hand up to get rid of the brake handle. And it's got really quick. I thought, I don't like that much. So I pulled my hand back again. And by which time it's like, oh, right, reserve's too late for reserve now. And my dad once said to me, when impact is imminent, flare like beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
I thought, it's about now then. So I just flared really hard.
With just the one side?
Just both. I just both
whatever.
hands.
You just
pull both hands down beneath my bum.
Yep.
And sort of next thing I realise is I sort of land sort of on my back and get dragged over backwards. You know, when a sort of glider falls behind you, sort of pulls you over, and you do a backward somersault with a bit of a crick in the neck, don't you?
Yeah.
And I sort of got a crick in the neck. I thought, okay, nothing particularly hurts. Yeah, that's good. So up I get. It's like, all right, okay, dust myself down. Yet nothing's broken. Yeah, cool. All right, okay. And I sort of look about, and there are boulders dotted around that are the size of cars. It's like, ooh, that was lucky, wasn't it? So I then sort of, pull myself together a bit, take my gloves off, and just sort of, bunch my
Check
glider
yourself,
up. Yeah, just bunch my glider up. In the meantime, Brad Ganuscio was sort of soaring about, and he sort of flown past and gone, something along the lines of, awesome, Bob, totally rad, dude, you all right, man? Something like that. I can't quite remember, but I give him the wave, and he's like, okay, and off he goes. And I thought, well, I'm sort of stood there, and I looked down. I don't know, it looks like 2,000 feet or 1,500 feet to the valley floor, 500 feet walk up to the top. It's like, I don't fancy walking down much. Well, I suppose I better get back on it and, fly down. So I can't remember quite what happened, but for some reason I lost one of my gloves, which was annoying. Anyway, so I found a spot and took off and started soaring this slope again. And I thought, well, I might as well, have a bit of a fly around. So I flew around a bit, feeling still quite shook up.
Yeah.
I got sort of a weak climb and started climbing up and going up and up onto the plateau. And I don't know, next thing I know, I'm at sort of 12,000 feet. And I'm thinking, well, there'll be people at goal, won't there? So I thought, well, so I might as well fly to goal. So I flew to the goal. It's the easy way to get home, isn't it?
I love it.
Yeah, no, that shook me up a bit, that one. Yeah.
Did you find? Did you deal with it like so? The first day you heard it down here, I threw my reserve, and and I just relaunched. I was in this perfect place, and I stuffed my reserve. I had another reserve, so I relaunched and flew home, and it was really nice. But then that night I was kind of like, whoa, that was interesting. Yeah, it hit me later.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, Chelan is an awesome place. That particular glider, I had a situation at least 2 other times where it did the similar thing, would collapse and go into a serious auto rotation. The way I was getting it out was thinking, I need to stall this to get it out, and by pulling the brakes, lots and lots of pressure in the brakes, and pop out it would come. But it didn't do me an awful lot of good, actually. I was quite shaken up by it because it had occurred on a few occasions. I wanted to buy an R10. But no, I couldn't do. But yeah, that probably didn't do me an awful lot of good. I do remember having a chat with who's the guy that's really well respected, Black Diamond seller,
Bill Belcourt.
I remember having a chat with Bill.
Yeah.
And he was very good.
He's good at that.
Calming and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yoda, we call him.
Yeah. But Chelan, what a place.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I've been to 2 places in the States, and 3 places. One where it rained a lot. Aspen,
yeah.
Yeah, it was just
Aspen's pretty hit and miss.
Well, it was a total washout. But if you're feeling good about your flying, go to Chelan.
Yeah, Chelan.
If you're feeling really good about your flying, go to Sun Valley.
Yeah. You won Sun Valley. That's where we met, and that was pretty full on. It was unfortunate we didn't get more tasks because that was a pretty interesting week.
Yeah, but Chelan is just flatland flying once you're across the gorge. Dusty, like talcum powder dust soil. When you're on takeoff, you look across. It's like, I can see 6 dust devils. Today's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
And what we're getting, I think we're getting about 13,000 feet above sea level.
Yeah, that's a pretty tall day in Chelan. That's pretty good. Yeah.
So what's that above the ground? 6 or 7?
Yeah,
maybe 8,000
exactly.
feet.
That plateau there is, I want to say it's 45 or so. So yeah, you're getting up there. You're getting where you can see a long ways.
Yeah, it was good.
It's a special part of the world for sure.
We stayed there. I think we stayed at Adam. We stayed with Adam Hill and Russell. We were in a trailer in Walmart, in the car park in Walmart.
Perfect. Proper rednecking.
Yeah. So I remember in the early days, Russell coming along and learning paragliding. He wasn't very good to start with. But I do remember him asking me how to do wingovers, which how the worm has turned, eh?
Wow, yeah, he's come a long way.
He has, hasn't he? Yeah. No, we like Russ.
Yeah, God, what an amazing pilot.
Yeah.
And so when did it kind of did it start clicking for you right away?
What, flying?
Comps? Yeah, just
I probably didn't get as good at them as quickly as a lot of people. I mean, it was always good fun. Sometimes it'd be really bad. Sometimes it'd be okay. I mean, I've been to a lot of competitions. Went to the first World Air Games. I think Hugh Miller won that comp. I was 5th there. But I've been to all sorts. I've been to British champs. It took me a long time before I won the British Championships. By which time a lot of the competition had sort of retired anyway. I don't think Russell was there. Craig Morgan wasn't there. I think Bruce wasn't there. So I mean, I won it. I beat, but a lot of the big guys weren't there. So, but anyway.
What do you think it is about? So there's, in a sense, you for me and back home is somebody like Bill Belcourt or Josh Cohn. These are guys that, have like you been competing a long time and flying for a long time, and life and other interests have not so much gotten in the way, but they're not flying nearly as much, but they can rock up at a comp like you have here and really crush it and really do really well. The obvious answer is just, well, okay, you guys have been doing it a long time, but are there things that you can pass on to the audience that are, people that are just getting into comps or that have much less comp experience that are kind of your go-tos? Like when you came to this comp, are there things you're thinking about beforehand? Are there mental places you're trying to get into, or is it just a matter of, history?
I'm not sure. Since I've been doing less competitions, it would appear that I've been getting better at them. I don't really understand that. It might be because I'm not too fussed about it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's lovely to do well. If you win a comp, you feel like eating a bit. But not being that beat up about it. I mean, I remember the first British Champs I went to, I think I got best newcomer. It was something like 13th place in the British Championships, and I remember the night before the last task, the last day, not being able to sleep properly. Yeah. I mean, what's all that about?
Yeah.
But so really caring about it, and I mean, I'd like to win by winning. I don't like to win by aggregate. I don't like winning by not losing. I like winning by doing it.
Yeah.
But that isn't the way to win. But if you don't care about it, it doesn't matter. I mean, there was a task here 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, I was going home mid competition, so I don't care about it.
Yeah.
I went racing into Zarzal, into the end of speed section with, I don't know, a couple of 100-foot ground clearance over Zarzal. And I was giggling to myself, watching Brad Ganuscio and Sebas and whoever just peeling off the side because I don't care.
Right.
It's like, I'm going home tomorrow. Yeah. And you guys ploughing into the end of speed section. Okay, I now need to climb to get to goal. Brilliant, I don't care. So what if I go down?
Yeah.
It's the way that seems to have really helped me.
So just being really relaxed about it.
Not caring about the result.
And were you able to take, from that experience 3 or 4 years ago, is that just kind of the approach now? Like, hey, I haven't been flying that much. I'm not, I'm probably not as tuned up. Yeah, whatever. I'll just go have fun.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, it's really nice to sort of test yourself. As St Andre, I think it was 2 years ago, I hadn't done a comp for quite a long time, and although St Andre scares me because it's it's pretty strong, it seems to suit me. And I went to the competition just thinking, well, to finish in the top 10 would be really nice. Would be nice. Top 5 would be brilliant. To get on the podium would be mustard, and I won the meet. It's like, blimey, I didn't really expect that at all. I hadn't done any comps for 2 or 3 years, and yeah, I don't know. It's just not caring, I suppose.
And there, when you were not in that frame of mind, before, like maybe when you were more serious about it and worrying about worlds and being on the British team and that kind of thing, how did you approach training, I guess, if you will? Like, how did you identify what you were good at, bad at, what you needed help with?
A lot of people think about stuff. I try not to think about it, or I'd like to think I don't think about it. You hear people on the bus talking about competition tactics and this, that, and the other, and blah 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 blah. And I think, really, it ain't that complicated. You go paragliding, you go round and round in the strong bits, and straight in the sinky bits. If you're high, I mean, there's a few quotes that I've heard. I think it may have even been a Pendry quote. If you walk through the woods long enough with your eyes shut, you'll bump into a tree. Same with the thermal. If you glide for long enough, you will hit a thermal. You just can't. Eventually you'll hit one. Yeah. So if you're mega high, you've got options. So yeah, when you're high, crack on, move on. Halfway down, start winding your neck in a bit. When you're low, you just got to take anything. And if you can, I call it a jiu-jitsu moment. There was a child's cartoon thing where jiu-jitsu would be chucked off a high-rise building and he'd be screaming to the ground, and he'd get out his umbrella, go hold everything, and go plop with his umbrella, and then come down under his umbrella. So I call it a jiu-jitsu moment. Hold everything. I'm really low. I have to stay up now for 5 or 10 minutes. If I can just stay off the ground for 5 or 10 minutes, something will present itself. And that's what I think about, when I'm getting low.
That's good. So you're not, I think often what gets people when they're low is that they'll start to get something and they'll think about, oh, the gaggle's coming and I'm getting overflown, or this is taking too much time, and then they move. Yeah,
I used to get, excuse the language, fuck, I need to climb.
Yeah.
And it's like, hang on a minute, your mind, you can't work. Yeah. You're too like, I need to climb, you can't, you need a defib.
Yeah.
It's like
you need to let your subconscious go back to work, and you can't do that if you're thinking too much.
That's right. Your mind's in a spasm. You need to go stop that, stay off the ground, something will come up.
Yeah. Survive. Just survive.
But yeah, I mean, I suppose in the earlier days of flying, I was too impetuous. We're going around in a 1 meter second climb. This is, come on guys, this is better than this. I'm off, and they'd just let me go. And more often than not, quite often I'd go down. It's like, ugh. So yeah, I was too impatient, too young, too impetuous perhaps. Whereas now it's like, actually, we're not very high. I kind of need these guys. Wind it in.
Yeah. Take your time. Yeah. Be patient.
Yeah. Fly with the other people. I mean, I know we're all flying in, all going around in crap, but there isn't any better crap around. There's no better option. So we have to suck this up. Yeah.
What gear do you use and why? And all of it, instruments and everything.
Well, I've used the Bruniger competition IQ, which is old. It's just a Vario and an altimeter. I've used that for years. Really quite like the tone on it. Tried other things like the Vario on the Udi. Can't really get on with that. When I first got the Udi, I hated it. It's just almost too configurable. And people that know me will know that I'm not too technically minded. It just did me right in. Whereas now, it's actually a brilliant bit of kit for competitions, or I think it is. Easy to program the tasks in, and does the job quite well. And the latest thing is this XC track on the phone. Wow, isn't that good?
It's amazing, isn't it?
Is it the QR scanner?
Yeah,
Bing.
You got the task in there.
I hope you programmed it right, bud.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I don't think I've programmed one yet, but so competition IQ Vario I like. The Udi. And now XC Track, and is it XC Tracer, the little Vario that goes on your shoulder?
Yeah, the XC Tracer's great.
I'm sort of struggling with it a little bit. I kind of do like it. It's I've got it programmed to be nice and enthusiastic. So you get a climb that's above 4 meters, 5 meters, it screams in your ear,
Yep.
which is quite nice. But I think I need to do some more stuff with it. I need to damp it down.
You need the configuration settings. Yeah, I messed around with that a bit, and then I can't remember who it was, but a PWC pilot that was a lot more technical than I am. He basically has made it to match the Flytech 6030, which is still, I still love that instrument, even though it's quite old now. But you just have to dampen them. I found it really hard to core before I did that.
Well,
it was just too zingy.
Up and down. It's like, hang on a minute,
reading too much. Yeah.
The average is giving me 2.5 meters, and you're telling me I'm going up and down like a yo-yo.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, 2.5 meters is quite respectable. It's like, stop the sync business.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I once I did that, I really enjoy it now. That's all I use now, sound wise. I've gone even away from the Flytech because I've gotten used to it and feel like it works pretty well.
Yeah.
And what about weighing harness?
Recently, I mean, I've been to quite a few harnesses. I used to have the UP stirrup harness. I can't remember what they call it now. The UP Fast.
Okay. Yeah.
I had a UP Fast and a Fast 2, which is like sitting on a tea tray. I really enjoyed those. Very good for sort of manoeuvrability. Used to like doing a bit of wagger, a few wing overs and roll reversals and stuff, but the kit these days doesn't really allow it. It just doesn't want to change direction quick enough, and so I don't really do much of it anymore, but I used to do quite a bit of that. With those, with the UP Fast harness, that was good, and the Gradient, Avex RSE, the RS and the RSE, really enjoyed those gliders. And used to do a bit of hooliganism on those. Then the Impress 3 was quite nice. Moved on from the Impress 3 to the Forza, the Ozone Forza. Quite like that lighter weight stuff. But I've just recently gone on to what is it? The Italian one.
Cortel.
No, the Italian.
Oh, that's the Czech.
Woody Valley.
Oh, okay. The XR7.
Yes, had an XR6 for a while, but it did something in the middle of my back. Didn't really. There was some strap that would dig in my back, but I've got the XR7, which is really comfortable. But the zip thing for the reserves.
Yeah, it's crap.
God, it does my head in.
Yeah, it's unbelievable every day.
Yeah.
So they really missed the mark on that one.
Yeah. And it would be really helpful if that sock, the whatever they call it, the fairing out the back, if you could zip it off and zip a new one on, like the Ozone harness.
Yeah, right.
But the exo seat's a bit on the heavy side, isn't it?
Yep.
And that also digs me in the back of the ribs. So I don't know if it does other people, but so I've got the Woody Valley harness.
We've got some very interesting critters coming out tonight, don't we?
Is that a cicada or something?
I don't know. That might be. Let me just check how that sounds. That might be a little too much.
I think just what you need.
Perfect.
Yeah, cool. But I've been Ozone have sort of helped me out with some gliders in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
First one was the R11. And I know it had a bad rep, but it did me really proud. I flew it hard for 18 months, and I had one 30% collapse on one side once in flying in Sussex. And I thought, oh, here we go. And it just came out sweet as you like.
Yeah.
Never had any trouble with it at all, but I never actually got a full frontal, which is, I think, where it was badly behaved.
It got a little dicey.
Yeah, but wow, I love that bit of kit.
Yeah.
And then the Enzo one. It was, you used to leap around a bit, but the sweetness of the handling, for weak climbs, trying to scratch up from low down in on the South Downs or somewhere, it's just so sweet for getting up. Like that's where I went to Sun Valley with as well.
The Enzo one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Nick never liked that one.
It was I think it was based on the R10, and it was a bit spicy, it would sort of wobble around above your head quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I think you got sometimes some big collapses, which I don't think they were quite cravats, but they would pin against the lines.
Yeah.
It wasn't sort of tucked in; it was just sort of squashed against the rest of the A lines, and it was quite stubborn to get that out.
Right.
But for just for sweet conditions, it was an inch up and down with the inside brake and lovely. Yeah, really nice. And then the Enzo 2, that was good. Did British record 275 k's. I wasn't going to
It's
get
damn
up
near
that
the
day.
whole island, isn't it?
Well, it's not quite. I wasn't going to get up that day, but Huey said the northern boys are coming down, so we had to go out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good day. And now the Enzo 3, what a lovely thing that seems to be.
Yeah.
No trouble at all with it. Yeah, I've had a couple of big collapses, but it just comes out straight away. It's really confidence inspiring.
Yeah. So when you look back on your flying years, all these comp years and the years before that, do you have is there a flight that stands out? Is there oh man, I'll never forget that one.
There are so many wonderful flights that I've had. I didn't really travel outside of Sussex much for quite a long time, and then Hugh Miller said to me, "Come on, look, the flying here is not that special. We need to start travelling." And he's been brilliant at instigating us, getting in the car and getting up at whatever time in the morning and driving to the right place. And yeah, that's been brilliant. Really nice one we did was a flight from a place called the Lawley, which is sort of near Shrewsbury, sort of mid Wales, down to Dorchester, who's I think it's about 200 k's or thereabouts. So you fly sort of across Wales, across the Severn, and then across the M4, sort of over Castle Combe racetrack, down past Longleat Safari Park, and then down and land on the beach. That was first time we did that. That was classic. Flying over the Cairngorms in Scotland for one of the North-South Cups. I remember sort of moving on, cracking on, and then looking down, sort of halfway to base, and looking down and going, "Ooh, where's that quarter of a metre of a climb gone?" It's like, I don't want to be going down there. I'll stick to anything right now. So that really sort of made me wind my neck in there. That was quite stunning. We did another flight from Glencoe, I think it was. Flew from there down to Maleg, which is on one of the peninsulas where you go to the Isle of Skye, I think. That was, I think it's about, I'm not sure if it's 60 or 100 k's or, it's not a particularly mega distance, but it's some lovely scenery. Down the Glencoe Valley, there's something called the Buckle and various bits and bobs. That was quite stunning. Also, I mean, first 100k off the South Downs, that was brilliant. So yeah, flying from the River Severn, across the sort of past Swindon, Coombe Gibbet, down past Midhurst, and then back to Ringmer where I live. So yeah, there's been some really nice flights in the UK. I really enjoy flying the UK. There's another site called Sharpenau, which is this sort of tiny little hill that takes an easterly wind. I think being an easterly wind, it's kind of quite choppy. It takes a lot of wind, and you can fly from there down into Devon and sort of Cornwall. I think Guy and Kirsty have done a big one. Hugh's done a couple of big ones from there. I've done a couple of 200s, but those guys have gone a bit further. So yeah, that's quite nice. Yeah.
Are you pretty good at weather?
No, Hugh just tells me where to be and at what time.
Isn't that great? That was Bruce is that for me and the X Alps and stuff, and he really digs into that stuff. Well, I was going to ask you kind of how you guys identify these good days and what's the process there?
Yeah, no, Hugh's just a logistical.
Call Hugh.
He's brilliant. He's 2 days time or tomorrow we got to go. So I've got the estate car and Annie, she's my partner. She sort of drives for us. If she's not working, we pay her to drive for us. So we jumble in the car. There's a few of us get in the car and off we go. Yeah. And Hugh says, we need to go here and we're doing a declared task and give me your instrument. These are the way you're going and blah, blah, blah. Oh,
fantastic.
That reminds me of one task I did. So for the UK XC League, there's a multiplier for declared goals. And I've set one from, I think it was Froster or Selsley, to a place called High and Over. It's a little hill down in Sussex, and it's about 180 k's or something. So I get to High and Over, and I just get to the cylinder, and it goes, the Udi goes, bleep bleep, task started. So that was one of my reasons for not liking the Udi to begin with, but now I like it. You just got to learn how to drive the thing.
Right.
So it's operator error rather than instrument, really.
Right.
Yeah. But so yeah. but yeah, I don't. Yeah, so Hugh basically organises us. We've got Roger gets in the car at the moment. Luke's been getting in the car and coming with us as well. But yeah, so our enthusiasm is wearing off a bit for this. It's like getting up at 5:30, 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
driving to a site for 10 or 11, flying, and then getting home really late. So
Big days.
Yeah, big days, and we've done quite a lot of them. So the enthusiasm's getting a little less for that. But no, yeah, Hugh works out the weather.
What about when you think about places like bucket list you mentioned earlier before we started recording? Well, what are those?
There's a few places that I've been which are really incredible for going flying. Australia, Godfrey Wanessa's place in Manila.
Manila, yeah.
The town is sparse, but it's you're in the bush. It's not.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go there for anything but flying, really. But yeah, if you can go to Manila, that's great. So yeah, Manila, Australia is incredible. We had a comp there. Must have been a Worlds, I suppose. I've been to quite a few comps, but yeah, it was Manila's good. Been there a few times, really good. Valadares is pretty good. Colombia is exceptional. I'd say this place, Roldanillo and Piedra de Chinche. Yeah, my favourite, I would say, really.
Really?
Yeah. If you're feeling good about your flying and confident about yourself, Chelan and Sun Valley. We flew. If I remember rightly, Sun Valley is a sort of course of mountains. You sort of get a mountain range that's 40 k's across, bit of flatland that's 40 k's across, mountain range, and there's several of those.
Going. Yeah, there's 7 of them.
Okay.
They just keep going into Montana.
Yeah. So one of them is I think it's quite close to Sun Valley, is King Mountain.
Yep.
The second or third
big
one.
Lost Range. It's about 70 miles out.
Yeah, I remember gliding in there, and there's these huge rocks, and it might have been a practice day, but we were there, and I got
when we flew out to Bora and back.
I got 9 meters. Well, I don't know where Bora is. There was smoke everywhere.
That was where we got to the end, and Henzi and Datum were hucking those big wing overs, and it was a proper big day. We were getting tall that day. Yeah.
Visibility was, because we had lots of fires upwind. Visibility was less than 45 degrees, but I got 9 meters a second to 18,000 feet.
Yeah, and that was the practice day. I think you guys were all like, "Holy shit, this is interesting."
Yeah. So Sun Valley's strong. Yeah, it's good. But you want to be feeling confident, really. I reckon.
Yeah, you want your hours. I don't think you want to come in there in the spring and after a long winter and start up there.
I remember Nick Grease saying to me, he said, when I come to Europe, I fly around in Europe for a while. He said, when I go back home, I get airsick.
Yeah.
I thought, don't be And then I sort of get my 9 meter a second to 18,000 feet. Okay, Nick. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So Sun Valley, that's good. Here's good. Where else have I been that's been exceptional? We had a British Championships in Pedro Bernardo, which is the south side of the Grados, opposite side of Piedrahita. That was really nice. Piedrahita's good. I prefer Pedro Bernardo though, but Piedrahita's very good. I think those are places you must go.
Yeah.
Australia, the US, Colombia, perhaps GV as well, Governor de Valadares. Yeah, exceptional places.
Is most of your paragliding travel been for comps?
Traveling for going places to fly. Volbev doesn't interest me. I don't really like doing an awful lot of exercise. I've had physical jobs and job now is semi-physical. I don't like exercise.
Is that how you stay fit then? You're obviously pretty fit. This is just from work.
I'm not really fit. I'm not fit at all really. But
well, it must be in the genes because you talk about your dad being able to take some pretty hard hits. You guys are little wombats, aren't you?
But so physical work is I've been doing that a lot. So to go Volbeving, it's like, no thank you. Volvisa maybe, but not Volbev. So why not go to a place and go to a competition?
Organized.
It's all laid on for you, isn't it? There's a whole lot of sort of reasonably like-minded people there. You've got lift to take off sorted. Yeah, brilliant. Go to competitions. I mean, can you imagine going to Manila, going like XC in Manila on your own?
Yeah, no.
Or, I mean, you'd have to employ a driver because if you land out in the bush, you might be out overnight.
Yeah,
It's just
hot.
hot and on your own. It's like, well, go somewhere where there's comp on, I say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could rewind the clock to your kind of 50-hour self, what would you do differently with your flying? Like if you could go back to that time and go, hey, Mark, listen to this. I got some good advice for you.
Stop paragliding.
Ah! We can't put that in there.
Get a life and stop paragliding, you sad fuck. That goes for everybody out there. Yeah, stop fucking with everybody else's lives and be reasonable with them.
Actually, that has to stay in. My girlfriend will totally understand that one.
Yeah. But get rid of the obsession and be a normal person or a sensible person. Yeah. No, I mean it's an interesting one. I was very I don't know, wasn't council house and vicious, but I was quite small town or very small town before flying, and it's got me visiting all sorts of countries. I travelled around Mexico with Carlo Borsatino for a while. He sort of taught me some very basic Spanish. It's still pretty basic Spanish now, but it's great being able to talk Spanish to people a little. It's opened the world to me, really. It's and all the different people you meet. They're I don't know if they're normal human beings, but
we are a weird lot, aren't we?
Well, it's good, isn't it? They're it's so diverse. It's great.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a farm labourer's son, and there I am rubbing shoulders with wine buff Guy Anderson. Yeah, and so it's good.
Any advice to the more lower hours pilots about just paragliding in general? Like, hey, here's if you want to get into it, here's what I would recommend. Would it be going to comps? Would it be I'm thinking more like the progression side of things. One of the themes of the show always is trying to eliminate or reduce the accidents that we still see all the time.
I'd say if you can get out of paragliding, get out of it. I mean that in all sincerity.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, it's sort of hypocritical for me to say this, but try not to progress too quickly. I mean, my first paraglider that I bought was a Firebird Ninja, and I was flying about being a hooligan. I mean, I was young. I was lucky to get away with it. It was the odd bounce, so I haven't really hurt myself particularly badly in flying. I've been very lucky. But there've been some people have come up and they've progressed too quickly, or some of them haven't even progressed too quickly. So I suppose in this interview I've spoken to you about at least two or three occasions where I should have not been walking away from it, really.
Yeah.
And then I know of some others as well. And that's in 27 years of flying. So it is a dangerous sport. You are going to have incidents. I don't think there's anybody that's been flying 27 years that hasn't had a semi-serious incident.
Yep.
Just make sure they're not really serious, because you are a long time broken.
Yeah,
a really long time broken.
Does the risk play more of a factor for you now than it did 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
Yes,
Are you thinking about it a lot more? Because you mentioned that flying San Andre kind of scares you, and I'm finding that more. The more incidences I see, and the more risk. Obviously, the X-Alps, of course, makes you think about it, but it's you think about it more, don't you?
Well, I think I might be wrong, but I think a lot of people going paragliding and wandering about in the world, flying and all the rest of it, thinking, yes, these incidents happen, but they probably won't happen to me. Well, they do.
Yeah.
They happen to people. I mean, let's not get all morbid and heavy and all morose about all of this, but there's several people that aren't here anymore that I know, that I've known, and there are several people that are seriously fucked up that I know through flying. If you said to them, I don't know what to say about it, but it's just whatever you do, try not to get smashed.
Yeah.
Do whatever you have to do to make sure you don't.
Have you got some of your own kind of Mark Watts ground rules for that? Have you gotten any? Because comps can get you into some kind of tricky places and that kind of thing. And if you take it too seriously, you can really you can do some stuff that you probably shouldn't do.
Well, it's not just comps, is it? I mean,
No,
yes. The numbers are there. Comps seem to have a higher hit rate than other things. So, yep, let's not deny that. But 2 years ago, San Andreas behind the coupe, there seemed to be a lot of wind. I've gone in there, and I can see the trees thrashing about, and I'm thinking, right, I know what's coming in a minute. It was a big collapse and a wobble about, and I ran away, and it was okay, but might well not have been. And I go back, I get some more height, and I come back for another go. It's like, hang on a minute, I've tried it twice, that's me done.
Yeah.
I could have perhaps got some more height and managed to get over, but it's like, no, it's like, that's done now.
Yeah.
But, I'm silly enough to go there twice, wasn't I? I don't quite know what to say, just try and be careful. Try and be semi-sensible and try and be reasonably careful. But, we're talking about, racing paragliders around at full speed. How's that careful?
just not careful.
Flying around in the sky looking for patches of turbulence to go up in. But be careful. I have been recently, the last sort of year or so, I've not been flying quite so much. So I'm perhaps not feeling quite as on it as I have been in the past. Also, when I was younger, I was fit and strong, I used to do tree surgery and all the rest of it. And you feel not invincible, but you feel strong, you feel tough. And at 50, the body's starting to hurt now, and I don't feel quite as invincible or quite as tough as I used to. So I think age and the fact that things hurt a bit more, these all sort of add up and start sort of playing on your mind a bit. When you're young, dumb, and full of cum, aren't you? It's like, I'm invincible and off I go. You don't think about the consequences particularly. Whereas I think as you get older, you start realizing your mortality. So recently I have been struggling with the risk reward. You go flying and you do a reasonably nice flight and you come back and land. It's like, well, that was so-so. If I hadn't done it, it wouldn't have been I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, that was really good. I'm sitting here thinking, well, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be missing it. And had I actually had a crash whilst doing that, I'd be really quite angry with myself.
Right.
So, yeah.
Finding a different path a little bit in a sense. Yeah, I mean, I've thought about that a lot recently, is that, you obviously can't do the X-Alps and that kind of stuff forever. And I'm getting older as well. And yeah, I think it's, psychologists say that, with people that are really serious about sport, or maybe a professional athlete, like back in my ski racing days and stuff, like a lot of the guys that I used to ski race with, their trajectory was either booze and drugs, or they keep pushing so hard that that cliff doesn't work out, and it's you got to find some way to kind of wind this down and find other things that are enjoyable.
Can I stop you there, Gavin?
Yeah.
Is this an interview? Am I interviewing you or are you interviewing me? Someone put me up to that. I've been preempted to hit you with that one.
Perfect.
Sorry, bud. Someone said to me, this opportunity will come up, and I was sitting here squirming in my seat. Shall I hit him with this?
Perfect time.
Shall I hit him with this or not? Sorry, bud.
I gotta thank Craig for that, don't I?
Well, let me just, paragliding, it is wonderful. You'll meet lots of very interesting people. Some you'll like, some you won't, but they're generally very out there people. It's a brilliant thing. It gets you to go to places that you would never go and visit normally. It's great, but just try not to crash.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done. I think a lot of the control courses or SIVs or whatever you want to call them have become much better now. We're really learning, or people have learnt how to use the paraglider. For example, stalls still for me are a no-go. It's like, don't do stalls. You should be doing them. It should be part of your training, really. And the way that they used to be taught was not correct. Now they seem to be being taught in a fashion that it is a usable tool. So I think control courses, Yeah, do loads of them. You know, if you can be at one with controlling your piece of equipment, your mind can then be freed up to do other stuff like looking where you're going and actually, is it gig of RAM?
Yeah.
Most of my gig of RAM is used up paragliding, you know, flying the tool and all the rest of it. And people say to me, "Did you see that guy over there fishing in the pond?" It's like, what pond? Let alone the guy fishing in it. You know, a lot of the stuff I don't actually see because the whole gig of RAM is used up doing what I'm doing.
Right.
You know, Hugh's got plenty to spare. You know, he's flying around and then he's sending text messages. You know, or you know, so yeah. But if you can learn, yeah, if you can use your piece of kit without having to think about it, you can observe and take in the information. You've got two eyes. They are the best things. They're your best asset when it comes to flying. Looking around, noticing little things in the distance. What is that? It's a bird. Okay. Is it circling? Yes, it is. Brilliant. I'll have some of that. You know, I seem to notice things on the horizon moving around, perhaps more than most people. And that's definitely very helpful.
And you feel like that's because you're comfortable with your kit, you're comfortable with that thing, you have more awareness of you're letting your subconscious do more of the work.
When it comes to competition, no, I don't see those things as much as perhaps I should, because I'm concentrating on thermaling this, trying to outclimb the bloke next to me, not crashing into the bloke next to me, blah 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 blah. I'm sort of right here, right now, and I would like to be taking in that information around me a bit more. I may be getting better at doing that as I've got a bit older, but yeah, taking all that information and use it to your advantage. You know, use your eyes. Observation is a key thing, I think, for doing well in flying.
Mark, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. That was a great hour and something out here and
Is
out
it
here
been that
in a bit of
long?
nature. Oh yeah,
I don't normally talk much. You can't shut me up, can you?
Yeah, excellent. Who's interviewing you here? Yeah,
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. That was a blast, and we got one more day in this comp. Good luck.
Cheers,
and
you.
We'll see you at the next one.
Ta-da.
What good is that? So you've painted your...
I hope you enjoyed that. We've had many requests. I hope all of you that wanted to hear Mark Watts on the show enjoyed that. As always, all we ask for is $1 a show. Don't just send $1. Wait till you've listened to 20 or 30 or something, and then send accordingly if you can. If you can't support us financially, really appreciate it. Think of it like a magazine subscription or something you really value. Something if you get something out of it, you can do that. You can find the links to support us either through PayPal as a one-off, or regularly, monthly, or you can do it through patreon.com/cloud-based mayhem. But you can find the links for all of that on the website, cloudbasedmayhem.com. If you can't support us financially, totally cool. Another way you can do it is just give us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher or however you listen to your podcasts. You can share it with your friends. You can talk about it on the way up to launch. It's what a lot of people seem to be doing. You can share it on social media. All those things go a very long way. And what this is all about is just spreading the word and making us safer and hopefully making us fly better and flying farther. So see you on the next show. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Cheers.